Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like 2025, won't be remembered fondly. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host, Dan Morgan.
What is up, Nady H?
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. All right, Hambone. Well, we talked about it on the last episode, and here we are. This is the first time we've ever done this on the show. We are pre-recording an episode. We could have probably kept that a secret and just released this.
Yeah, you're really obsessed with these programming notes to a degree that I don't
think
understand.
People want to know.
You've got to do what you've got to do.
People want to know.
Fine.
People need to know.
Then I get maybe one person that's listening cares about this.
Well, we're recording the day after our last episode, so we have no idea what the current state of the world is like in the week. I mean, you're out eating jellied eels. I'm doing pickups on Ted Lasso 3. We're completely out there, just separated from baseball right now. So I'm just going to assume I want to congratulate Shohei Ohtani on achieving something that hasn't been done since Slapstick Bill in 1913 or whatever. Congrats to him. And hopefully we're all still around here a week from now. I guess those are my two things. Do you think
Slapstick Bill should be in the Hall of Fame? I feel like he is notoriously overlooked.
I think one too many pratfalls. I think that time that
how are they going to take you seriously?
Yeah. Well, and there was also that time where he had a 2x6 in his hands and he spun around and he hit the commissioner in the back of the head. Yeah, that was rough. And of course, him and his friend carrying the pane of glass across the street. That was rough.
Yeah, but when he ran from that train, that was hot.
Yeah.
People like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the duality of Slapstick Bill, great on the field, Hall of Fame quality numbers, off the field, hit or miss,
I think the career 330 batting average is really what should get him in the Hall of Fame.
Well, what a lot of people don't know is that the slapstick was also a dual reference. It referred to his ability to maintain a high batting average because he would he would slap the stick. You see,
you're preaching to the choir, Nate. I know.
We got to bring back Slapstick Bill.
Shut up.
So anyway, congrats to Ohtani on that milestone. May there never be another.
Yeah. I'm guessing while you're listening to this, I'm dragging my wife into a bar that plays American sports or something.
Yeah, probably. You're just doing the same shit you do at your house, but you've managed to do it, make it more annoying and more expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this episode is going to look a little different. We're basically not doing the back half of the episode. So because we're recording in back-to-back days, and didn't exactly have time to build the entire episode as always. We're just going to do the first half, which for some people might say, great, that's all I listen to anyway. And for everyone else, a lighter listen this week. And we thought it would be fun to do more of a recap on 2025, some of the projections for it, how that actually turned out, and then some of our takeaways from 2025 in a positive way.
Wow. Some of it.
Most of it. Yeah. Some of it. Well, the projections, no. I tried to keep my takeaways positive.
My takeaways are positive.
Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
Yeah. Yeah. We both took the assignment of come up with 3 takeaways from 2025 that were good. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, something that we do every year on this show, and we've had Dan Szymborski, the creator of Zips, on the show, which has always been fun and insane that he gives us his time. Ben has looked at those projections and then compared them to what actually happened. So how accurate was Zips, which comes out in like January, right?
Yeah, the article that Dan posted came out January 27th of this year. So 10 months ago,
Yeah.
these came out. Where, and to his credit, the team was pretty set in stone at that time because we really only made one acquisition post that. And it was a good acquisition,
It was.
by the way.
It was their
And the
best
bullpen
one of the
didn't-
offseason.
It was. Yeah, it was. And the bullpen, was the strength of the team in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anyways.
Yeah. So
January 27th is when that article came out.
right, which, like, to kind of belabor your point, most times you'd say, well, that's way too early. Who knows what the team could look like by time March or April comes around, and not the case here. But it does make it useful for us as far as comparison standpoint. So
Right.
how do you want to go about this? What numbers do you want to talk about first?
Well, yeah, I think it's worth talking just super high level of kind of what Zips saw in this team and what ended up happening. Zips had the Cardinals projected at 83 and 79. Obviously, they fell short of that by about 5 games. They finished the season at 78 and 84, a 481 winning percentage. So the Cardinals were 5 worse than their projected standings, according to Zips. That being said, I think there's going to be a lot of this as part of the Zips conversation. But obviously, we traded away players like Ryan Helsley,
Right.
which adjusts that math. It's the team is not the team on January 27th was not the team, after at the end of the trading deadline. So obviously everything's a little bit goofy there, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Like basically that's saying to me this is a 500 team. And they played basically like a 500 team, obviously a little worse than a 500 team, but I mean, in 162 games, essentially, that's where they were at. Zips had the team total WAR projected at 19, which I think you and I were like, no, they're going to outshine that. They're gonna crush that number. Just on the likes of Masyn Winn, who did, and Nolan Arenado and Newt Barr, and those guys are going to perform.
Yeah.
But the Cardinals only were able to put up 17 and a half player WAR. All together, the team WAR was 17 and a half. So they missed their projected mark. Again, not overly surprising. And the Cardinals were projected to score 700 runs. They ended up only with 678. Again, Zips shockingly close. And then a sad number is that they had a WRC plus as a team of 96.
Yeah.
So obviously, we'll get into why these numbers happened and where Zips went wrong and kind of talk about the players through that lens. But, when you look at this and you look at where the team was, a month in and we were all excited and, maybe cursing Zips and saying how wrong Dan and the computer were and how we were going to outperform everything. And then you are sitting here on midway through October and thinking about the team that was in 2025, you're like, oh yeah, no, the computer was right. And this was a 500 team. And I guess what's funny, Nate, is when I was prepping for this episode last night, I was kind of going through like the Reddit post on the Cardinals subreddit early this season and looking at Viva Alberto's earlier this season and MLB trade rumors and obviously fan graphs. And the Cardinals had a hot start to the season.
Yeah.
And the first month and a half of the season, they had one of the most difficult schedules as far as opponents. So they were playing well against good teams. I mean, how many times did we talk about the offense? We talked about getting some shocking pitching from the guys at the top of the rotation, and it was all very convincing.
Yeah. The team is
4 to
good.
6 weeks.
We said it. We kept
good.
saying the team is good. The show is good. I mean, that was part of the narrative is that not only are they winning or at least maintaining a competitive presence, but they're doing it against some of the best teams in baseball. And we started doing okay, they're in first place or they're in second place or they're in a wild card spot and they have the third easiest schedule for the next 2 months, Like, there's a path. We have a path here. The Cubs have one of the hardest schedules, etc. Everything looked pretty good. It's not unlike 2024, where out of the gates, It was a good team. It was a fun team. It was an exciting team. But much like 2024, ultimately there's a number of things that didn't go right in 2025. But I think it comes down to the pitching and then some offensive pieces not taking a step up that we were expecting, or in a couple cases, completely collapsing and ended up being pretty bad in 2025. I think to your other point about just like it is pretty incredible how close these are at a high level. I mean, Zips projecting 19 team WAR and it being 17.7 across the entirety of a full team. And when a player like a starter can accrue sometimes a third of a WAR up to a half on a single start, the fact that it was only 1.3 off is pretty remarkable. And this to me just shows like this is what every season is going to look like as far as these high level Zips projections. In this case, the Cardinals underperformed, so they underperformed by 5 games. It's not a significant underperformance from the projection, but it is an underperformance, and that makes them a sub 500 team out of the playoffs. If they had overperformed in the exact same, but like inverse of how much they underperformed, they're 5 games above their projection. Now they're at 88 wins and they're in the playoffs,
Right.
And that's what all of these projections are. They're looking at like, what is the middle outcome? What is the most likely middle outcome? And then depending on the unexpected things like breakouts or injuries, call ups that no one saw coming, things like that, that decides the outlier element, and we fall where we fall. So I also looked at Pythagorean, which is the math off of runs scored and runs given up on what you would expect the team to result with their final record to result in, and the Cardinals overperformed their Pythagorean, which put them at 74 and 88. So they overperformed that by a handful of games as well, which is interesting. All to say, like, everything projected them to be mid, and they were mid in a slightly different way than we were expecting. But they were, and that's the story of 2025. But you want to go into some of the individual player elements of this whole thing?
Yeah, and before I do, I just, I'm again just kind of looking, fondly at the first 30 games of the season. And I think it's important to remember like why that felt so good. Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, Thomas Saggese, Joel Pozo all had WRC pluses over 140. Victor Scott, Masyn Winn, Nolan Arenado even were hitting above major league average. I mean, Brendan Donovan accrued 1.1 FWAR in 29 games to start this. He came out of the gates firing, and with him and Newt and everybody at least being halfway decent, I mean that's why we were talking about how much fun this team was at that point. And then we know that Nootbaar, I don't know if he was injured or if just the league really adjusted him and found something. But that just absolutely fell off. And I think we talked about it last episode. I just didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah.
But let's get into, I think it'll be nice. We can start off where Zips was dead on, and then where Zips was way off as far as the Cardinals individual players. And I don't know if there's too much to talk about with these dead on players, but Nolan Gorman, Zips projected him in between 2 and 3 FWAR. And they actually, what I thought was wild is they projected his on base percentage to be high. 340 is what they projected. He, because of his strikeouts and because of his lack of quality contact, he only actually got a 296. But he was walking at a rate where if he was hitting like his career norms are, he would have had a OBP closer to 340. But anyways, projected to be 2 to 3 WAR. He was 1.2. We've belabored this. I don't know if there's much else you want to add about Nolan Gorman and his 2025.
No, disappointing. We talked about it last week on what do they do with him going forward. I have still been a proponent of maybe one more chance,
Yeah.
But I'm I wouldn't be surprised
See,
if it goes the
see
other
that
way.
article about the I think there was an A's beat writer that was or making the argument. It might have been even a fan article, but the A's talking about Brendan Donovan being their third baseman of the future and swinging a trade with the Cardinals, which
Interesting.
is interesting. Would make me feel, I don't know. Would you rather be an A right now or a Cardinal? Probably still a Cardinal, right?
Well, there's the whole Sacramento of it
That's what
all
I'm
that
saying. Yeah.
colors the whole thing. As far as an just strictly on the field team, it's hard not to be excited about the Athletics. Nick Kurtz, Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker, Tyler Soderstrom,
Jacob Wilson.
Jacob Wilson. They just got Leo DeVries from the Padres in that deal. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of exciting players on that team. And as shitty as it is, that stadium is a bandbox. They're hitting. It's the best offensive environment in baseball, I believe. So, it's probably fun to watch those games. But I'm sure, like if you're an Oakland-based fan, you have a lot of feelings about that team right now. And then there probably are or very few, like future Vegas fans, like people currently living in Vegas being excited about them. Maybe there are. And I bet there's some locals in Sacramento who are having a good time with it. But complicated.
Without looking, can you name who started the most games at third base for the A's this year?
Oh, man. I'm sure I know the name because
you do know the name. I know you know the name,
that is
but
a
I
thing-
don't think you'll be able to
That
guess.
is a thing that I will know. But I am struggling to pull it right now. And
he had a breakout with the Yankees, just to give you a hint, a couple of years ago.
Oh, no, it's not Andahar, is it?
It's not.
Okay.
Andahar, he was kind of a utility guy playing the outfield for them.
Yeah, I knew he was on their team. All right, who is it?
Gio Urshela, and he accrued -1 WAR.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember him?
Yeah.
He's still out there.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Brendan Donovan, another one that Zips got right, had him pegged at 2.5 to 3 FWAR. He came in at 2.9. I think that this is kind of establishing, the future Brendan Donovan. He's a 3 to 4 WAR player going forward. And I actually think that it would make sense to me that his next season is even better than was this year.
And he may benefit from going to a hitter's ballpark, because if he can be one of those guys that can just add 5 to 10 home runs a year, which is just add 5 to 10 home runs a year, easy to say.
Sure.
But if he could, and aided by a ballpark, suddenly he becomes a very, very valuable player.
Absolutely. Alec Burleson, this is someone that Zips also nailed, kind of called this breakout happening. They had him projected at a 280 average and a 450 slug. He had a 290 average and a 459 slug, basically exactly dead on, put up 2.1 FWAR. But yeah, Alec Burleson became a real hitter. The platoon splits were less bad, and he was more consistent and added a little bit of power to what he had last year. But nailed him.
Yeah, well, and it would make sense that it would be cool. Like, he had more data than some of these other guys, and a more projectable approach. We've talked about Burleson a lot. We'll see where he ends up, but it was no question that he had a successful offensive year. Good for him.
And then 3 pitchers that Zips also nailed. Sonny Gray, which we've talked about that endlessly. Sonny Gray is basically an elite pitcher. Had him at 3.5 WAR. He put up 3.5 WAR. Ryan Helsley, same thing. A sub 3 FIP, which happened. 1 FWAR, which happened. Basically nailed it exactly. And then Jojo Romero, also 1 WAR, 3.2 FIP. He put up 0.9 FWAR and put up a 3.28 FIP. So essentially exactly what they were projected to do. And I think good performances all around. And obviously Helsley is no longer a St. Louis Cardinal.
Yeah. And Helsley had some ups and downs, especially after the Cardinals, but he was still very good. And Jojo Romero, it's going to be interesting to see next year what's the usage pattern in the bullpen? It seemed like it was aligning to Riley O'Brien as the closer, with JoJo closing in ideal left-handed situations, and otherwise being their setup guy. But we'll see.
JoJo to me feels like a pretty clear trade candidate.
Yeah.
He's established himself as a solid late game reliever. He throws hard from the left side. He gets ground balls. I feel like he's going to be sought after.
Yeah, we talked about that at the trade deadline too, that he was, potentially on the move.
Right.
Which I'd be for. I mean, we like JoJo, but when you're rebuilding, the middle back end of your bullpen is not where you need value.
No, and it's also like, he's a reliever. He could turn into a pumpkin at any moment. Yeah. He's got good peripherals and good results this year. Maybe it's time to just go.
Yeah.
Rather than waiting for him to, maybe he will escalate to another level, or maybe he won't. And maybe he'll regress. So yeah, might be time to move on from him.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about where I think this is a little more interesting of where Zips was way off. And unfortunately, the poster child of that is Nolan Arenado. Zips saw him as a 4-WAR cornerstone. He finished under 1 F4, which we talked about. The 377 slugging percentage, I think that was the big part of it. Just absolutely no power this year. We've talked about how the defense it rose back up a bit this year, but absolute lack of power. It's really hard to be a quality third baseman with a 377 slugging percentage and a 289 on base percentage. Just rough.
It is a slugging position typically. Not everybody, Gio or Shella aforementioned, but that's it. When you're building your roster, you're ideally getting that out of your third baseman, which is of course
for
what he was.
Arenado's credit, he was double the player that Gio Urshela was, to be clear.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, disappointing. I don't know how much there's not much more to say about Arenado. We wish him well, assuming he is no longer a Cardinal. Disappointing end to an era, and one of the most exciting acquisitions in Cardinal history, in my opinion, and paid off at the beginning, but has just completely collapsed.
Completely. Wilson Contreras. Zips kind of projected a bit of an offensive boost for Wilson Contreras. Obviously, he was losing framing value and just being a catcher, going, from one of the most valuable positions on the field to the least, I guess, other than DH. He was projected to be about 3.5 WAR. He put up 2.7. It was just, a little more offense and less defense. Not a huge miss. He also missed some time, which, is attributed to that error bar there, but not exactly what Zips was hoping from him.
Yeah, I wonder, once again, which is a sort of a story we don't talk about a lot with Contreras, but he missed a fair bit of time with injury. So if he had just been healthy all year and played all year as a standard first baseman, getting 155 to 160 games, I mean, he played more than he's ever played before, but he wasn't a catcher. So. Right. I bet if he had those extra 30 games or whatever, he'd be closer to this. But I don't know how many at-bats or plate appearances it initially projected him to get. But I mean, overall happy with Wilson Contreras' year. We still are dreaming of like the full season of active Contreras that has no hiccups and just, comes in and plays well. And also, if you remember the narrative of the season, he was rough to start the year. Remember?
Yeah, he was.
Everyone's bopping except for Contreras. And that was another part of the story of this team is good, because it's like, sure, Brendan Donovan will slow down or whoever will slow down. But once Contreras gets going, now we're cooking,
Cooking with gas, baby.
And he did eventually, when you consider that he basically missed a month, and for a month he was bad. You've got 2.7 F4. It's very easy to see how a really good Contreras here is still in the cards, and it could be 4 to 5 WAR, even if not more, if he truly has like a power binge. But we just haven't seen it yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't.
All right, let's talk about the biggest swing and a miss from Zips this season. And Nate and I were talking about this player before we hit record. But Jordan Walker, Zips expected 2 WAR, so replacement level player, which is great. You need to have those with a 110 WRC plus. He actually accrued negative 1.2 FWAR with a 66 WRC plus. Just absolute dog shit. There's just no way to color it. Nate and I were looking at the Fangraphs leaderboards before we hopped on, and if you drop the plate appearances to 350 rather than qualified hitters, Jordan Walker was the worst player, worst position player by FWAR in the league. Obviously, big swing and a miss. I don't want to be too negative on this. I think the point that I'm at is I don't know where to go from here, because this is the bottom.
Yeah. I mean,
it has to be the bottom. It's that or he's out of baseball, because you cannot be. He's literally the worst player in baseball this year. Players that are worse than him were not in the big leagues. So,
it's also interesting his I mean, you could do this with a lot of different players, but I just think it's funny. So they were projected at 19 F4. They missed. They were 17.7. So they were 1.3 off, and he was negative 1.2. If he had just been zero, if he had been just a 0 F4 this year, the Cardinals would have hit that projection. And
like, if you just ran Nate Church out there all year because of his defense alone, you're probably making that up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm almost certain with that. I mean, right field defense is what it is, but he probably also, unfortunately, is probably putting up a more consistent offensive numbers too. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Nate Church didn't exactly crush at the major league level, but Jordan Walker was pretty rough. And I imagine that I think we talked about it earlier this year, but you made the call for he should be in the minors, and he's not coming up again until he has shown consistent long-term success at the minor league level. It can't be something like, oh, he hit 290 for 3 weeks and hit a few bombs. Let's get him back up. He's back. It's got to be like 400 plate appearances at the minor league level with a at the high minors with a high WRC plus before you feel confident again, because we all called for give him time, give him right field, let it happen, and let's make a decision after that. And they did. To their credit, they did. He was the starting right fielder all year when he could be, and it was one of the worst seasons in baseball. So I can't even argue anymore about like, oh, they're mishandling him or whatever. Like, he knew where he was playing every day this year, and it was bad. So I still think, all that said, you do not give up on a guy like this. Now, maybe there's a team that's willing to trade for him at a value, but unlikely. If anything, it's going to be a dump, sell low sort of thing. So I wouldn't like that. But I think it can't be at the major league level that we see him develop anymore. It's got to be minors.
Yeah. Since if you combine 2024 and 2025, he's played exactly 162 games over those 2 seasons. He has been worth a negative 1.8 FWAR. He has been a bad defender. He's been a bad offensive player. He's been a below average base runner. His X stats are poor. His I mean, the only thing that looks good is his hard hit percentage. He does make hard contact.
Yeah.
But when you're missing 31, or if you're swinging and missing 32% of the time, and you're just not getting the ball over, there's no rosy outlook on this player at all right now. And I agree. He's got to go to the minors. I don't even know where you start him. I don't know. Hopefully they have a plan for him in place on what he needs to work on. Hopefully there is some, I don't know. There's a swing mechanic. There's a mental exercise.
Well, did you see the thing? Unlock. He's at drive line.
Man. That is good. But I mean, I say swing mechanic, and like maybe there is maybe his swing is too long. Maybe he needs a new timing mechanism. Maybe he needs this, that, or the other. I don't know what it is, but it seems to me it's all in between the ears. And maybe Driveline will help him give confidence and figure that out. But yeah, I don't know. And expect for him to be bad at every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to I don't know what to do. I don't even know what to say that's not horribly negative.
Yeah. The rosy outlook, Hambone, is that he's 23 years old. He is still younger
For sure.
than basically everybody else on this team that we're talking about.
He is also the most physically tooled player I can remember in Cardinals history.
Yeah. He is insane. He's faster than everybody and stronger than everybody. So he just can't swing the bat very well, which rough, a high hill to climb. But these big guys like this, we've said it 1,000 times. There's very few 6'7", 250-pound successful guys in the major leagues. Full stop. And then the ones that are, unless they're pitchers, and the ones that are successful aren't, for whatever reason, don't typically show that extreme success until they're in their higher 20s. And so the Cardinals gambled that he was an outlier and that he was just going to come right up and hit the ball really hard and develop at the major league level. And that gamble did not pay off. And so now it's time to go back the way you develop most guys, which is slowly through the minors and show success at every level before you ascend to the next one.
Yeah, it is. It's just too bad that the clock has started and everything like that.
Yeah.
And, it's, you kind of got to hurry, but you also got to be patient.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a fun one that Zips missed. Zips had Masyn Winn around 1.5 to 2 WAR. He put up 3.5. And, we talked about it. There was a good offensive performance in the first half, but obviously he was injured. And the defense is just so good. It's Gold Glove worthy that it kept that afloat. And even if this guy doesn't continue to hit like the way that I think he probably can, we have a very, very good shortstop for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have to begin to be somewhat comfortable with the idea that he may never be a true offensive asset. And by that, I mean he's, producing at a higher, at an above average level. I think there's some fair concerns around power and things like that would help him ascend to the next level. But that is nitpicking on a very valuable profile. And so I think we've said for Call in the past, that sort of thing, high batting average, 10, 15 home runs. Hopefully he gets more and more comfortable on the base paths because he certainly has the speed to do it. And Juan Soto has shown everybody that you don't even have to be fast to steal a lot of bases. So it's certainly something around instinct and confidence seemingly are more important than raw speed. But of course, raw speed super helps, of which he has. But that defensive floor will mean that even a 100 WRC plus, which he was right under, is a very, very valuable player.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that he's also 23. He's a wee baby boy. I think that as he understands his game better and the strike zone better and everything like that, he'll start taking opportunities to swing hard and, maybe pop a few more home runs. I think a 15 to 20 homer season is absolutely that. He could roll that out every year once he just gets more comfortable and is not injured. But my expectations for him are extremely high, and they're buoyed by that great defense.
Yeah, he hit 292 in July, and it was right around there was where the injury happened. So we don't know. Maybe that was the heater that was coming. We don't know.
Well, we've talked about it. Coming up through the minors and his first 2 years in the big leagues, all he's ever done is get better.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's impossible to do that when you're not at 100% or even close to 100%. So that's I am not worried about him in the slightest.
Yeah. It's this podcast just continues to get worse. So we're like the inverse Masyn Winn,
You think we're getting worse?
Look at us.
I feel like we started high, we dropped down, and then we've just been stuck there for.
Okay. We haven't gotten worse, but we're low just in general. Yeah. Started from the bottom and we're still kind of there.
because I'm not doing anything different. I'm not I'm not learning.
It's important we don't try to improve. Although I will say the slapstick Bill bit I think was pretty good.
Wow. Wow. Don't pat
We
yourself
might
on
be
the back
coming
too
back.
hard.
We might be coming
Okay.
back.
Who's not coming back? That's Miles
Oh,
Michaelis.
look at that segue. I take it all back.
He was projected by Zips to put up 2 F-WAR, be just that mid-rotation so-and-so. He didn't do that. He put up 0.3 F-WAR, had a 5.03 FIP. Zips was off by quite a bit. Miles was off by quite a bit. Probably the end of his career, which, but that's another player. Like, if Miles, if Nolan, if Newt just played their career averages, maybe we're the ones getting bounced out of the playoffs in the first round.
It would certainly be more fun than what happened.
Sure would.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else you want to say about Miles?
No.
I mean, we talked about it quite a bit. Yeah.
I'm just the next time I think we talk about Miles in real earnesty will be the announcement of whatever is next for him in his career, which I think you have already projected, which I think is the most likely. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me if he just ends up back in like one of the Asian leagues as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he could be a pirate.
Yeah. No, that not
be...
not anymore. I know what you mean, like conceptually, but their rotation is becoming stacked. So I guess it is. I don't think there's any reason. But them specifically, no. But yeah, like the White Sox or something.
A national. How about a national?
Yeah.
Maybe the Nationals are going to take a step forward, I guess. We'll see. All right, let's talk about the bullpen for a minute. Steven Matz was somebody who underperformed the expectation. I think that was mostly driven because of him being a reliever.
Yeah.
And this is something that Zips, I just didn't understand at the time. But I just wanted to say I thought Steven Matz was pretty amazing for the Cardinals this year, and the fact that they were able to get a potential what do you put Blaze at? Is he a big league regular or is he a bench bat? Where is Blaze Jordan's ceiling for you?
He was looking like a pinch hit type, kind of guy, bench bat. 2025 was not bad though. He's restored some of his prospect pedigree. It won't surprise me if we see Blaze Jordan sooner rather than later. I think he's going to leapfrog a lot of these guys that are higher than him on various prospect rankings, because he's been in the minors for a while and he's starting to show more success. I think we'll get an answer on him relatively quickly. I even think this is a long shot, but I think there's even a chance that if Contreras is moved and Burleson is moved, we go into something like Blaze Jordan is starting first base coming into 2026, and they're just like, let's see, Yeah. And then
I expect him to get a very extended look at spring training this year.
Yeah.
And it's also worth noting something that I think the most exciting thing about Blaze Jordan is that he is going to be 23 years old next year. He is also a wee baby boy.
Yeah, and he's played third again, which, there's a lot of options there. But that does, more versatility is always better. So more opportunity. So I think we'll see him soon. Like I'd be very surprised if he's not in the majors in 2026. Just when and how, very open question.
Right. Two other players in the bullpen that Zips just kind of thought would be essentially nothing was Matt Swanson and Riley O'Brien. Swanson, arguably one of the best outcomes of 2025. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but I was shocked of how many innings he actually pitched for the Cardinals this year, and had an outsized impact, especially compared to, I think, what, the level of our radar and maybe fans' radar he was on. But to come up and pitch over 60 innings, look as good as he did, strike out as many people as he did, obviously blew Zips away. And then, like you said, is Riley the closer of the future? Like, I think it makes sense to move on from some other guys and maybe keep Riley around because he has so much control remaining. But two guys that are basically in their first year of their contract with a ton of control that really came out and performed well this year.
Yeah, and a win from the trade department. We talked about bad outcomes, but Swanson pulled out of nothing. And everything backs up what he did this year. Of course, like you said, a reliever can turn on a dime, but he's young enough and the underlying numbers were good enough that I think he's going to be good for a while. And same for O'Brien. O'Brien's older, but we've talked about it enough this year. But I have come to the point where I don't think age really matters for pitchers. It's just, are they throwing right now? If they are throwing right now, then that's all that matters. Age can arguably make someone more injury prone. So if you're building like a long-term sort of thing, then maybe you're considering that, but we don't know. You cannot predict anything. So are they throwing well right now?
Right.
Then okay, doesn't matter how old they are.
Also, if Riley O'Brien loses a tick on his fastball, he's throwing a 97-mile-an-hour sinker rather than a 99-mile-an-hour sinker, and I think that's still going to be pretty effective from his arm slot and with his breaking ball. So, yeah, fully agree.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so interesting exercise. We'll look at the Zips projection when they come out here in a handful of months. Who knows what this roster is going to look like in January, and who knows what it'll look like in March. I expect it to be a more energetic offseason, but of course we'll see.
My God, I hope so, Nate. Bring back Phil Maton.
Yeah, right. But we'll see if we can get Dan back on, and maybe we talk a little bit about this with him too, just see if he has any takeaways or surprises from it. I know he's always updating the model, which is fun. So next we're going to move into, we always pitch this show as a positive show, even though it's been, or an optimistic Cardinal show.
Yeah.
But it's been obviously a little bit hard to do that for the last 3 seasons. But still, like, baseball's fun. We watch this for fun. And despite the outcome of the season, there were some good things from this year. And even from a record standpoint, there were a lot worse teams out there with a lot worse systems, with a lot worse everything around them. So, like, the Cardinals are in a bad spot, but they could be worse. So, we each kind of went through and did 3 positive. Like, I don't know how you framed yours. We did no comparing of our notes. We might have said some of the same things. That's fine. But we did 3 kind of positive things from 2025. I wrote mine as like key takeaways. Do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. And I'm not sure if I understood the assignment entirely.
We do this
we'll
every
just
year.
see, and we'll see how it goes. So the first thing on my list is I have it phrased as Arenado squishing kids, which, if you remember, I think that was some of the most exciting baseball we had all season.
Okay,
I think it was
we did do this very differently, but I like this. This will be a good balance to.
Wait, I'm rounding it out.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'm rounding it out. But that was a very exciting time in the season.
I agree 100%. I wish this was on mine.
What it was reflective of to me was the return to form of Nolan Arenado being an extremely good defender.
Sure. Okay.
Throwing his body at children,
yeah,
making great plays, making highlight reel plays, which had been a conversation, in previous seasons of has he taken a step back? And I think establishing himself, because of missed time and everything like that, he wasn't in competition for the Gold Glove. But he's out there squishing kids. He's out there making great plays. He's making dads look like fools by letting their kids get squished. That was a very high point of the season for me.
I agree completely. Yeah, I had a lot of fun laughing about that dad, getting out of the way, and just all of that was fun.
That was good.
Yeah.
All right. The next on my list.
Well, let's go back and forth. I'll go one.
Okay.
Now. Okay.
Fine.
So I said that despite everything and some of the results not being what we wanted, the Cardinals do have a good, mostly young core. So I was saying, they won 78 games, which is a lot better than a lot of teams. Mm-hmm. They were one of the last teams to be eliminated. And most of the top performers on the team from a WAR perspective were the younger players. Masyn Winn, Victor Scott, Ivan Herrera, Matthew Liberatore, Thomas Sajaci, all young and will be here with the team unless they are traded for a long time. And then their next top performers, guys like Brendan Donovan, Alec Burleson, they're not that old either. They're getting there, but they're still young and still, have years left in what you would consider their prime. So when we talk about improving this team, like right now, none of them are stars as far as, I should say none of them are like elite as far as their contributions to the team. But when you're thinking about building a team and having a young core, the Cardinals have that. They need to add a lot to it, and we need some of these guys or some other guys to step up and become 5, 6 F4 type players.
Right.
But like a lot of this was reassuring. They all have their own opportunities and room to grow. But Victor Scott and Masyn Winn and Ivan Herrera and even Liberatore, like that's a really fun base to build off of. And I think some room to work with for the new management group.
Yeah, fully agree.
So, we'll see. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe one or many of those guys are not here next year, but that's value that the new organization can use.
That is, for sure. Yeah.
I have a little trivia for you.
Okay.
There were 3 players from the core set of players that when playing, the Cardinals had a winning record.
Okay.
Can you guess the 3?
The 3 players, the Cardinals had a winning record when they were playing core players, you're saying.
Yeah, and this is all position players, by the way.
Position players. I'm going to go with Masyn Winn.
Masyn Winn is number 1. When Masyn Winn played, the Cardinals were 67-62.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Isn't that interesting?
That is.
Yeah.
He's good.
He is good.
He is a good player.
Now, you could argue, of course, he missed the last month when the team was like at its worst, but also the team was at its worst because he wasn't there, right?
Because there was no Masyn Winn,
yeah.
Right.
So he played the bulk of the competitive time as the team, and the team was above 500.
We talked about it before the season started. The Cardinals have Masyn Winn and then a massive black hole of people who else can play shortstop at the big league level. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to guess, so it's Masyn Winn at the top. I kind of want to say Ivan Herrera, because when he was good, he was driving the offense.
No, Ivan Herrera, they have a losing record when he is starting.
Wow. Okay. Who else? I mean, Brendan Donovan's got to be.
Nope. Losing record when Brendan Donovan is starting.
I didn't know that Brendan Donovan was such a loser. Burley?
Nope.
Okay. I'm swinging and missing. Help me on this.
Masyn Winn, Victor Scott.
Yeah.
Pedro Pajes.
Defense wins champion. Are probably our 3 best defenders.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
All 3, when they started, the Cardinals had a positive win record. Now, it was nothing crazy.
All right. Well, let me just say this right now. Then, based on that information, Jake and the Bird Scored is right. Pajes is good. I apologize for everything I said last episode.
Yeah. Right. No, don't give him that. Now I have to kick him out.
No, I was sounding patronizing, right? It was still rude, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So I just thought that was interesting. Victor Scott.
It is.
It's an open question, long-term value, but he's very, very young. And
well, I mean, he's a Gold Glove potential center fielder. That is a really great place to start.
Yeah.
As far as a player production profile looks like. All right, I want to talk about my thing now, Nate.
Great.
And I just have, so this one is also maybe a little missing the mark of what we're supposed to be doing here, but I put Willson Contreras has that dog in him. And I think that was one of my favorite parts of this season, is I feel like Willson Contreras came into his own as like the vocal bulldog leader of the team. Whether it's throwing high chews, whether it's getting in other players' faces, doing what needs to be done and being that guy in the dugout, which I appreciate. And I have here a quote from Willson Contreras that includes a swear word or two, so heads up. I'm going to swear on the podcast, Nate. But it's Willson Contreras, to be clear. But anyways, he was quoted, this was after a Brewer series, and he was very clearly talking about Reese Hoskins, the
Yeah.
first baseman bench player for the Phillies. He said, one of their players, he likes to talk from far away, but when he got in my face, he didn't say shit. He's a fucking pussy. I'm not going to name no names. He knows who he is. And that is what I am talking about. I love him. He is such a competitor. There is no one in recent Cardinals memory that is like that, as outspoken as he is. And if that's not entertainment value, I don't know what is.
Yeah, well, that's there's so many reasons why. Like, the brain side of me says trade Wilson Contreras, but there was like no part of the heart side of me, the fan side of me, that wants them to trade Wilson Contreras at all. Like, I mean, it's the classic. Every other player hates him except for the players on his team and his fan base. We got that a lot with Yachty too, right? Yachty. Like, he's revered in St. Louis and is kind of hated everywhere else, right? Respected, but hated everywhere else,
Booed.
I mean, he was booed in many stadiums for many different reasons. And we love that. That's part of the fun of
They don't boo nobodies.
It's part of the fun of sports too. It's just, just screaming at guys, I big fan. I will be sad if they trade him. As much as I think it makes sense from a raw value team management standpoint, I will certainly enjoy the Cardinals more next year if he is a member of that team.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. I again frame mine comparatively in the most boring way, but I will say a takeaway from 2025 is that the bullpen is good, and they are good at developing bullpen arms. We've been feeling this for a little while now, but when you consider the fact that they traded arguably the top 3 arms in the bullpen at the deadline, and we ended the season still talking about bullpen arms as a strength and that we might have an abundance and could trade more of them, that's like a real value. And it is a testament to the team's development and ability to find these guys. And I think that is a real strength for a rebuilding team. Teams always need arms, and you can sometimes find some crazy value in trading an arm at the right time. And I think when it's time for the Cardinals to compete, the fact that they seemingly are able to flip this switch and find guys that work also shortens that return to competitive window when they do need a good bullpen. It's just a good thing to be able to do, and one that you can turn into excess value left and right if done appropriately. So it's fun. I'm excited. It also just keeps games closer and makes it more fun to watch as a fan of the game on the field. Like, there's almost nothing more frustrating in baseball than a bad
watching
bullpen.
wins slip away from a bad bullpen is soul draining.
It's the worst.
Couldn't agree more.
You'd rather just have a Miles Michaelis start, be 8-0 in the second, be like, all right,
hey, I'll go make dinner. It's all good. I'll go do something else.
So it's a strength of the team. It has been reinforced year after year. I think 2025 really settled it. We saw what the value of being able to trade these guys returns. We got some pretty interesting guys from the 3 deals at the trade deadline, and it's still a strength. And I think it's a good thing. It's a good takeaway from 2025.
The last thing I have, and I guess this is more traditional of what the exercise was supposed to be, it was just Matthew Liberatore.
Sure.
I think, he had the end of the season wasn't amazing, but when you look at it, this is a guy who had 29 starts. He's 25 years old. He'll be 26 next year. He is a major league pitcher now. None of the numbers at the end of the season are going to blow you away, but he put up almost 2 WAR. I think he only projects to get better and better as he gets more time. This also gives him a good launching pad from throwing even more innings next year, going a full 32 starts, hopefully getting past the 150 innings mark, being a solid major league number 3 for whatever he projects as. The Cardinals desperately need something like that. He is that, and I feel confident of him improving on what he did this year going into next year, and that is just massive.
Yeah, I almost wrote the same thing, and everything he said is true. I mean, this is what normal pitcher development looks like. First full year in the bigs, some success, some struggles, but he got through it healthy, and I imagine that Zips will project him to take a step forward next year. How big that step forward is, we'll see, but I feel pretty confident that he's minimum an effective big league starter, and still has some real peak in him. I think like there's a real ceiling of a very good pitcher if he can stay consistent and make good use of all of his pitches. Like you said, 3 or 4. I think that's a fair current value, but I'm not thinking he's ever going to be like a ace sort of guy, but a solid number 2. Is in the cards for him.
I agree, Nathan.
Wow. All right, my last one. I'm going to be rehashing a little bit of our conversation from a couple weeks ago, but the farm system is good.
Oh my God.
And it, we just had the Fangraphs article, 7 top 100 players, tied with the Mariners for first overall. And what I wanted to point out was we really dug into the top 7, which made sense. Those are the top. But there's a bunch of guys that are interesting and should impact the major league level. If you just even pull up MLB.com's top prospect list, which isn't the best, it's not my favorite, but it is relatively updated and it's easy to find. Jesus Baez, Takeo Roby. We forget he was bouncing back hard before he got hurt again, which is part of his whole thing. But he's looking pretty good. Yairo Padilla. I've talked about Josh Baez. I'm very excited for him. Ivan Henderson, Chinwei Lin, Nate Dome. We already talked about Blaze Jordan. There's Bryce Mouts is an interesting guy. Had a really strong year. Like there's a lot of guys on here that are not going to make the top 100 list, or did not at this time, might not ever make a top 100 list because there's a lot going on in the crafting of a 100 list. But there is certainly some real big league value here that is right underneath that top 7, which is a pretty high ceiling to begin with. So
agreed.
Like I kind of tie my things together. They do have a good young core. They have a good bullpen and the ability to craft a good bullpen consistently. And they have a very strong farm system, one of the best. So I'm not looking forward to another year of, mediocre MLB play here in 2026 as far as the final record comes. I would certainly love a playoff appearance. But if you take the broad view, this team is absolutely on the right path, despite some of the disappointing outcomes of 2025. Jordan Walker, maybe not a part of the picture. Nolan Gorman, maybe not a part of the picture. But there's a lot of guys coming up that should be. And
the future is bright already, and we are about to be under the management of somebody who's made their money building farm systems. I feel very good about that spot.
Yeah, and the top 2 guys in the farm system right now are 2 things that we need: starting pitcher, and then a defensive infielder who can hit the ball really well to all fields and projects to be above average at everything.
Hell yeah.
So I'm really excited, and maybe it'll be 2026. Maybe this will come together faster. I'm not expecting that. Most people aren't. I would not get your hopes up for that, but I think we can have a lot of fun in 2026, despite probably losing a fair amount of games.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it, Hambone. Anything else you want to say?
No, I hope that the Brewers have beat the Dodgers at this point.
The Blue Jays just had that big. I mean, this is bad. This is way dated content. If we start talking,
just don't even talk about it. We don't need to talk. It's already, this is dead by the time we're talking about it.
But yeah, hopefully a Brewers Mariners World Series would be fun, but we'll see. So, Hambone, you are out there somewhere in the world eating your slippery eels. Before we completely sign off, we do want to remind everybody, of course, that this show is listener supported on Patreon. We got to get that in right at the end.
You got to
get that in. So thank you, everybody, for supporting us thus far. It's been a fun year despite the outcome on the field. And special thank you, of course, to our patrons. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. If you want to join in the conversation, be a part of the show, join the Bird Scored. Who knows? Maybe you'll be on the show like John was a couple of weeks ago. Check it out. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Everybody gets access to the Bird Scored when you join the Patreon, and it's a good place. It's a good place to be. We also appreciate everybody who takes the time to leave us a review on their favorite podcast platform, and of course, tells their friends and family. Hambone, where else can people find us online?
Yeah, first off, I want to say I think that I need to rematch John at some point because I think there was some fooiness with our game. So I'm just throwing that out. John, if you hear this, when you hear this, I'm throwing that out there, bro. And Nate needs to come up with a better game. And maybe we need like a C70 to drop it on us or something. I don't know. It was just I didn't like how that all went down.
Ben lost, and he's yelling, "Stop the count!"
There was some conversation in the Bird Score that maybe I didn't so much lose, but I think a rematch would really solve this problem.
A rematch is reasonable, but
you can find us. We're on all the social medias. Blue Sky, Instagram.
You would have got
TikTok.
the Gandalf question wrong, so it's not like I would have, even if I had thrown it to you, you had no chance.
You can listen to this show on Spotify if you prefer to do that. You can watch this show on YouTube.com. You can find all of that information, all the podcast links. We have t-shirts available on our website. Website is talkingaboutbirds.com. You can email us at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And of course, you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737. Yeah, that's it, Nady.
All right, and that's going to do it for this week's episode. So thank you all again. We'll be back next week, the regular show. Ben's going to tell us all about the slippery eels that he ate, and we're going to have a good time. So thank you again. And until next week, go Ben's digestive system.
Sure.